The Nigerian government and Boko Haram negotiate a ceasefire. But what about the status of the abducted girls? We'll have team coverage. U.S. lawmakers call for a travel ban on Ebola-stricken countries. And a British football legend uses his star power to help combat Ebola. Africa 54 starts right now.
Hello and welcome. I'm Vincent McCory. This is Africa 54. We begin with breaking news on a ceasefire agreement between the Nigerian government and Boko Haram. Let's go straight to Lagos, where the managing editor of our partner channels TV, Joseph Esengwa, is standing by live via Skype. Hello, Joseph. Give us the details.
Good evening, Vincent. Well, it's a heartwarming piece of information we got this morning. Basically, what you already know is that the ceasefire agreement has been agreed between members of the Boko Haram and the federal government. But what we now have is that this agreement has been communicated to the troops on the operational troops on the floor. They've been asked, they've been told, given details. We don't know exactly what they were told, but they do know that yes, there is a ceasefire, and they've been asked to abide by the agreement.
Now, everybody's eyes are on those missing girls. What are we hearing about them? Are they about to be released?
Well, pretty much. There's a feeling of optimism that the end is in sight. We do know that there had been negotiations before in the past, but there were some bottlenecks which have by now been taken care of. We would like to believe that some kind of agreement has been reached, and the feeling amongst most Nigerians is that we might just see those girls sooner than later.
What's the reaction in Nigeria from what you're hearing?
Well, first of all, it's been a traumatic experience. The nation has been under a lot of trauma. The parents have been under a lot of trauma. The girls have been missing for like 6 months. The agony has been shared by most Nigerians, and by and large, the feeling is that okay, there's an end in sight. We can at least have these girls back. Free them from their abductors, and then have them go through a rehabilitation period. Because you just want to imagine what these girls have gone through over this past 6 months. So pretty much, we are hopeful that the signs are very bright.
For most people, this is a kind of a surprise development. Talks between the Nigerian government and Boko Haram. It was expected that there would be some kind of military action. Did anybody know that there were talks going on in Saudi Arabia?
Well, no, I don't. That really caught us by surprise, really. But that is not surprising, because we do understand that prior to this time there had been efforts made, to negotiate with members of the sect, but that it was scuttled because it got leaked. So I guess the federal government was a little bit more careful about this, and well, it took most of us by surprise.
Some time back there was a statement by the government of Nigeria that one of the things that will not be done is to pay ransom. Any word of perhaps a possibility of those kind of exchanges?
Most times when kidnappings like this happen in the country, what feedback we get was that ransoms were not paid. If you recall the meeting that was held between the United States of America and some other countries, with Nigeria, and it was generally agreed that ransom should not be paid. That has always been the stance of government, but we do hear that at times ransom is paid, but really, Vincent, I can't prove it for instance.
Nobody can tell it. And also the release of the militants who are held by the Nigerian government.
Well, again, Vincent, I don't want to speculate. Yeah. I do know that, initially part of the condition that we hear that the militants gave to the government was that some of their middle field commanders be freed in exchange for the girls. We heard that, but all those are in the realm of speculation, Vincent.
Okay, we'll stay on this story. Joseph, thank you very much.
Thank you very much for having me, Vincent.
Thanks. Joseph Sengwa is the managing editor of Partner Channels TV from Lagos, Nigeria, reported live via Skype. Now, here in Washington, we are joined by Leo Kayan, chief of VOA's Hausa service. Leo, you've been closely following this story. What more can you tell us after this development now?
Well, this story has been on for some time now. We've reported attempts to free these girls. I think negotiations have been going on under the behind doors, and now it's coming out in the open. Yesterday at about 20:30, 9 o'clock Nigerian time, we got a call from our stringer, incidentally, who is in Saudi Arabia, who told us about this deal. He said there were meetings going on in Jamena between the Chadian, Cameroonian, and Nigerian officials on the release of these girls. So we said, well, how do we confirm this? He gave us a number, and we called one Aladi Amadou, who says he is in between Cameroon, Nigeria, and Chad in a forest. He is the commander who is in charge of speaking on behalf of the negotiators. And from there, we took this story further to discover from the interview that, yes, the girls are healthy, they are ready to be released to Nigerians, to their parents, but through the Chadian government.
And the Chadian government looks like it's been very instrumental in reaching out to the Boko Haram. We saw the release of Cameroonian women who have been held captive. What kind of role did Chad play in that?
Idris Deby seems to be cutting a niche for himself now as a very serious negotiator between Boko Haram and all the countries that are afflicted by their attacks. That's why a lot of people have confidence in what is happening right now, because we believe that if he was able to succeed in getting the Chinese, about 12 of them, and the wife of the Deputy Prime Minister of Cameroon released, then he should be able to do this as well.
Now, one of the things that has been a little confusing and baffling to many is the structure of Boko Haram. In fact, there were some people who are saying, does the government of Nigeria even know which faction of Boko Haram is in these negotiations? What do you know about the structure of Boko Haram?
Well, Boko Haram has a particular structure that we know from the evolution of Boko Haram itself. Forget about the criminals and the thieves and all these armed robbers that harm people in the name of Boko Haram. There is a structure headed by Abubakar Shekau, which is very known. Well, the controversy around that is that the leadership is never there for anybody to talk to. And several times the Nigerian government has said it has killed Shekau. Now the question is, how many times are they going to be killing Shekau? So what we understand from our own research at the moment is that Abubakar Shekau is not a name now, it's now a title, more or less. So when you kill one Shekau, another one is appointed. It's no more a name but a title, as far as I'm concerned.
Wow. Now the comforting news is that, as you said, the girls, according to Boko Haram, are all alive and healthy.
Yeah, that's what they told us.
Yes.
Yeah.
So that is comforting. Leo, thanks a lot for joining us today.
Nice to meet you.
Well, Leo Kayan is the chief of Hausa service here at the Voice of America. Well, turning to a growing global threat, the World Health Organization says it's sending teams to Ivory Coast and Mali in the coming days to evaluate the country's preparations to deal with the expanding Ebola outbreak. The virus has killed about 4,500 people, primarily in Guinea, Liberia, and Sierra Leone, since last year. In Liberia, the U.S. military is assisting Liberian troops in the construction of 17 100-bed Ebola treatment centers.
They'll all be completed by the first week of December. All 17? All 17.
In Guinea, where more than 800 Ebola deaths have been recorded, the U.S. is investing millions more in boosting the country's fight against Ebola.
I announced an additional $142 million of investment to accelerate contact tracing in Guinea, to more rapidly build Ebola treatment units, to attract healthcare workers and improve the training capacity so those workers can be safe.
Back in the U.S., Texas nurse Nina Pam, shown here in her Dallas hospital room earlier Thursday, is now being treated at the National Institutes of Health in Bethesda, Maryland, outside Washington. She arrived in Maryland overnight. A second nurse, Amber Vinson, is being treated for Ebola at Emory University Hospital in Atlanta, Georgia. Both contracted Ebola from exposure to a man who was hospitalized with Ebola after traveling from Liberia to Dallas. He later died. The high-profile patients are being cared for while U.S. President Barack Obama balances the country's strategy for dealing with the disease. He says a travel ban from West Africa is not the way to fight Ebola, saying it might encourage some travelers to not disclose they have been to one of the countries impacted by Ebola.
They may engage in something called broken travel, essentially breaking up their trip so that they can hide the fact that they have been to one of these countries where there is a disease in place. And as a result, we may end up getting less information about who has the disease.
Mr. Obama said without accurate information, people are less likely to be properly treated and quarantined, potentially putting others at risk. Well, here in Washington, top U.S. federal health officials faced tough questions from a congressional panel Thursday on the government's preparedness and response to the first cases of Ebola in the United States. VOA's Cindy Sain has more.
Dallas, Texas has been the epicenter of a series of bad news bombshells. 2 nurses contracted Ebola after taking care of Thomas Eric Duncan, the Liberian man who died of the disease in a Dallas hospital.
Do you swear the testimony you are about to give is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? I do.
Lawmakers Thursday expressed frustration with mistakes made, including Democrat Diana DeGette.
Because it would be an understatement to say that the response to the first U.S.-based patient with Ebola has been mismanaged, causing risk to scores of additional people.
One of the infected nurses is being treated at Emory University Hospital in Atlanta, Georgia, and the other at the National Institutes of Health in Bethesda, Maryland. Thomas Frieden, director of the Centers for Disease Control, said he knows Americans are afraid.
One of the things I fear about Ebola is that it could spread more widely in Africa. If this were to happen, it could become a threat to our health system and the health care we give for a long time to come.
Several Republican lawmakers asked Frieden and other officials why President Barack Obama has not imposed a travel ban on Ebola-stricken countries. Panel Chair Tim Murphy questioned Frieden about one of the sick nurses who took a flight.
And this is what happened with the nurse who went to Cleveland. So I'm concerned here, is this going to be your maintaining position of the administration that there will be no travel restrictions?
We will consider any options to better protect Americans.
Frieden said if a travel ban is imposed, people will travel over land instead, and U.S. officials will not be able to screen for fevers and travel histories. Later, with his Ebola response team, President Obama agreed with Frieden that a travel ban is not the best way to go, but said he is continuing to monitor the situation.
We are taking this very seriously at the highest levels, starting with me.
House Energy and Commerce Committee Chairman Fred Upton said President Obama will also consult with members of Congress.
I'm going to encourage the president to really put in a no-fly zone from that region of the world, particularly for folks trying to travel here on a visa. We need to send the signal now. Our border is closed. Until we resolve this issue in West Africa.
President Obama and lawmakers agreed one of the best things the United States can do to protect people at home is to continue its efforts to fight Ebola in West Africa, where the disease already has killed about 4,500 people. The U.S. is sending about 4,000 troops to the region to help build treatment centers and train healthcare workers. Cindy Sain, VOA News on Capitol Hill.
Well, we want to know what you think about Africa 54 on the stories we covered. Join the conversation on Facebook. The address is Africa 54, and check out our headlines 24/7 on voaafrica.com. Coming up, a closer look at the Angolan musical sensation Os de Troia Bella. Stay with us. Yay!
to present music and a side of American culture that is most important to me, that is a part of who I am. They're going to get some incredible performances. That's one of the things I love, bringing these artists in so you can get to see them do what they do. It's soul music, and that's what music is. It's that which comes from the soul.
Welcome back. It's Music Makers Friday, and today we are featuring Os de Troia Bella. That's a group of 4 young men from Angola. Here to tell us all about the talented artists is Roger Munto, host of the RM radio show. Welcome, Roger.
Thank you, Vince. Thanks.
Now, these kids sound very fascinating. Tell us a little bit about them.
These kids are awesome. I mean, we cannot not talk about these kids.
Yeah.
They are definitely an overnight sensation in Africa. They're from Angola, as you said. They're from a really poor, small, rural area in Luanda, the capital of Angola. But there are 4 of them, and they started this as a joke. But now, right now, as we speak, Vince, their song is all over the clubs in Africa, all over Europe, Spain, Portugal. These kids are just...
So what is their style? What do they call
So the whole thing is, well, they call Os de Troia. I don't know what that means. I asked my Portuguese friends there. But the really key thing here is the dance. A dance that we're about to see.
Really cool dance.
It's a cool dance that I don't think you and I will be able to. Maybe you can do it.
Let's watch it. Let's watch it and see if we can do it. Yeah, let's play this video.
Mas, ó, rapazes, quando é que vocês vão me pagar como devem? O que é? Vão pagar quando? O que é?
Bella, 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 bella. Bella, 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 bella. Os de Troia. Não faz isso, bella, bella. 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 Não faz isso, bella. Não faz isso, bella. Não faz isso, bella, bella. Manda Bella subiu, manda Bella desceu, manda Bella entrou dentro do trono. Vocês já sabem de quem se trata. Isso é rutina pra vocês cá. Manda subir, nós somos caros. Manda descer, nós somos caros. Aqui a cena é suculenta. A minha dica está a buscuiar. Olha que sumo, estou a tomar. Olha tu se não faz isso, mas o Bella me colou. Comecei a dar um toque, mas o pipa como eu. Parou, chegou, o toque me colou. Bella, 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 belo chale, coxo no canto, lhe pego na xuxa. Assim começaram as bobadas. Logo apareceu da dama, disse que o Bella caiu na jogada. A nossa tropa é Visão Black, nacionalidade papel. Essa é a stop, letra é a stop. Glosses de Windows. Não faz isso, Bella, Bella. 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 Não faz isso, Bella. Não faz isso, Bella. Agora subiu, desceu, belo. Agora subiu, desceu, belo. Subiu, desceu, belo. Agora subiu.
Now that is cool, man.
That is awesome. I mean, can you do this?
I cannot do this.
Look at
They're
that.
so nimble. I mean, how can you bend backwards, almost your head touching the ground?
Exactly. Well,
You know?
we have to recognize the young fans.
Yeah, they're young,
they're allowed to do that.
We had our time.
We had our time.
And we didn't
couldn't
make
do
it.
that.
But I am impressed that they're kind of doing this in their neighborhood. As you said, they come from a poor neighborhood, and they're saying, this is where we come
This
from.
is where we come from,
Yeah.
and we're not going to change overnight, right?
Exactly.
But also, and I'm glad you're mentioning that, Vince, because they did this with pretty much no money at all. If you hear this, it's not coming from a very expensive studio. Okay, a recording studio. They really did it with just regular drums, djembes, and really a small beat maker, in the background. So that's about it. A beat machine. That's all. But you can tell, the dance itself just gets your
I
attention.
think that's the identity that gets your attention, and it kind of gives them a sense of originality.
I mean, how far can you go, Vince? How far can you? That's it.
It's too much already. Hey, Roger, Thank you very much, my friend.
Thank you for having me, Vance.
And hope to have you back as always.
Thank you, sir. For sure.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, to learn more about Roger Munto, is the host of VOA's RM radio show, visit Facebook and type in the keywords Roger Munto. There you can learn more about the music man and his dynamic socio-cultural show. Well, atheists, by definition, do not believe in God, so they should have no need for a church, right? Wrong. They have a church now, the Sunday Assembly, which in 2 years has grown from a single congregation in London to dozens around the world. Reporter Mike Osborne visited with the members of a Sunday Assembly that now meet regularly in Nashville, Tennessee.
Sunday morning, time for the monthly Atheist Assembly in a downtown Nashville park.
Stand out with me, guys.
The gathering really does look and feel very much like church. There are songs, all Beatles tunes on this day.
The comfort and care on which we depend is given.
Special readings, a message, even an offering at the end of the service. Original Nashville Assembly member Landry Butler says church provides a great model for building a sense of community.
That has a powerful way of bringing people together for the common good and of focusing that energy. And so we wanted to use that as a model because it's something that people are familiar with.
Church is especially familiar in this region. Religious participation rates in Tennessee are some of the highest in the nation. So Butler says he's always surprised at how many believers show up for the assembly.
They go back to their regular church the other Sundays of the month, and then they come and hang with us when they can. And that's been a good way of sort of bridging those two communities.
That gap between believers and atheists has always been tense and sometimes hostile. Butler says the assembly isn't interested in conflict.
There are a lot of atheists out there who like to beat up on religious people, and we're not about that. We want to be all-inclusive.
A good example of that inclusiveness plays out regularly at a local homeless shelter. Volunteers from the Sunday Assembly routinely help serve meals at Room in the Inn, a Christian ministry that serves Nashville's homeless. The group prepares food, serves it, and interacts with the men and women who show up for a hot meal. Elvis Wilson says one of the Sunday Assembly's core values is help often.
As an atheist, you know, I want everybody to know that I care, and we have moral values. We want to live in the now. We want to make sure people in this lifetime are treated with respect and well taken care of.
The Sunday Assembly movement has experienced phenomenal growth. At the end of September, more than 30 new assemblies met on a single Sunday.
Hi, I'm Sanderson.
And I'm Pippa.
And together we started the Sunday Assembly.
It's all the best bits of church, but with no religion and awesome pop songs.
The founders, British comedians Sanderson Jones and Pippa Evans, are now in the process of crowdfunding a website that they hope will tie the global movement together. For VOA News, I'm Mike Osborne in Nashville, Tennessee.
Well, it's time now for a short break. Still to come on Africa 54. Why did this band go to the end of the earth to play a gig? We'll tell you after the break, but first, here's a recap of today's headlines.
Since then, UNHCR has been working with the Commission.
It's a collective fight because it's important to stop the disease in those countries, to stop our brothers and sisters dying in those countries.
Serious regard should be given to community-based centers.
Welcome back to Africa 54. Here's what's trending.
Learn more about the life-saving instructions you can follow to protect you and your families from Ebola. and together we can collectively halt this disease in its tracks.
While soccer star David Beckham is pitching in to combat the spread of the Ebola virus with 2 public service video messages for UNICEF. The 2 videos will be broadcast in Sierra Leone, one of the worst countries affected by the current outbreak of the disease. UNICEF is working to control the disease through public outreach campaigns designed to inform families of the various methods of transmission and hygiene. Well, next, some bands will go to the end of the earth for a gig. Well, British band The Defiled have become the first band to play a gig on an iceberg. Now, the British metal band set off from Iceland to land in Greenland, where they set sail to head towards their eventual gig venue, an iceberg in the Greenland Sea. Now, the stunt was part of a series of events called Jägermeister Ice Cold Gig, which is sponsored by the drinks maker and sees artists play in unconventional and freezing conditions. And finally, Run Rabbit Run. Now, researchers at the University of Tokyo have developed a bipedal robot they believe runs faster than any other 2-legged robot. An eye sensor enhances the speed and accuracy of the robot's operation. The team has also developed a set of baseball pitching and batting robots, which they say react 5 times faster than human brains and hands, and a robotic hand that plays the rock, paper, scissors hand game that consistently beats humans in demonstrations. And that is what is trending today. Well, Sunny Young is on assignment, but the sunny side of sports lives on. And this next story you can file in the It's Not For Me category. Well, some of the world's toughest endurance athletes braved the Brazilian rainforest in the 10th annual Jungle Marathon this week in the Amazon's Topayos National Forest. Only 26 of the 65 runners finished the grueling 275-kilometer course. Runners battled swamps, waterways, extreme elevation, humidity, sore feet, exhaustion, and fear. They could only enter one section of the course called Jaguar Alley in groups of 2 or more due to the high population of jaguars. This year's male winner was Willie Grego from Guadeloupe, while the female winner was Josie Benson from the United Kingdom. Well, and that's our show for today. Be sure to watch Africa 54 on our website at voaafrica.com. For more news, tune in to VOA's evening radio show, Africa News Tonight at 1800 UTC, and in the mornings today, Break Africa between 0300 and 0600 UTC, Monday through Friday. Thanks a lot for watching from all of us in Washington. Have a good night and a great weekend.
Welcome to the Voice of America's News Words. This word has to do with health care in the United States.
John Boehner, the Speaker of the House of Representatives, does not like President Barack Obama's health care reforms.
Why did the president mislead the American people when he promised they could keep their health care plan? Why is Obamacare forcing Americans to lose access to the doctors they like?
The Affordable Care Act, often called Obamacare, is the president's program to provide health care for Americans.
Despite early problems with the program's website, the White House hopes that many Americans will use Obamacare to get health care.
Now, when you hear the word Obamacare, you will know what this news word means.